Hello, in this video tutorial, we're going to learn about input types in HTML. An input is what enables us collect data from users through a form. Enough of the talking, let's go ahead and learn about input types, okay? There are a lot of them, so in this video I'm going to be showing you almost all of them, okay? So let's go ahead and look at the first input type I have for you. So here I have my bare bones structure of my HTML document. Okay, now inside body we're going to enter our input. Okay, so let's go ahead and first of all put a heading h3, and here we'll put input types, okay, in HTML. Now we come down and then we need to declare our form, okay? So less than, and then we put form greater than, and with the help of Visual Studio Code, the closing tag of our form will be closed for us, okay? Now inside here we need to open it up like this. Now inside our form, the opening and closing of form, all we need to do is to declare our input type. So the first input type I'm going to be talking to you about is text input, okay? This is what will enable users enter text, okay? So less than, and then we put input type, okay, equal to quotation, and then inside this quotation we need to put text, and then we come out and then we close our code. Let me take you to our web browser and then see what is happening. Here we are on our web browser. Let's reload this page. So Ctrl R will reload your page, and as you can see we have an input box or input field here. A user can click on it and enter text. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see. Okay, so this is an input type called text. User can enter text in it. Okay, so that's the first input type we have in HTML. Let's go ahead and look at the second input type. So I'll take you to our code editor, and then we come down, we put less than input type equal to, and inside this quotation we put number, okay, number. So number is a kind of input type we use to collect numbers from users through a form, okay? Now let me take you to our web browser. Let's reload this page, and we have our second input box. User can click and enter numbers, okay? So this input type only accepts numbers. Okay, so that's our second input type. Let's go ahead and look at another input type in HTML. So I'll take you to my code editor, and then let's come down and less than input type equal to quotation, and inside this quotation we put email, and then let's go out of our code and then close it. Let me take you to our web browser and reload, and as you can see we have our third input type, and this accepts emails, okay? So we put something like solo@gmail.com. So this input field accepts email addresses, okay? Let's look at another input types in HTML. So here is my code editor, and then we need to come down and put less than input type equal to quotation, and inside this quote we need to put TEL for telephone number, okay, and then we go out of our code and then close it. Let me take you to my web browser. Let's reload, and this particular input field accepts telephone numbers, okay. So that's the fourth input type in HTML. Okay, let's go back to our code editor and look at other input types in HTML. So we come down again and put less than input type equal to quote. Inside this quote we need to put something like password. This is a special input type in HTML. So close it and go back to our web browser. Reload, and we have our fifth input type. Now a user can enter his or her password, and you can see we have those little dots here for security purposes, okay. So this kind of input type is used for passwords. If you're collecting passwords from users through a form, you use that type of input type in HTML. Perfect. Let's go ahead and talk about other input types in HTML. So I'll take you to my code editor, and then we come down, less than, and we'll put input type equal to, and inside this quotes we need to put date, okay. So go ahead and put date. Now the best way to learn code is to practice, so go ahead and practice with me, okay. So you enter input type and you put date inside, okay. Let's go back to our web browser, reload, and as you can see we have an input field or input box here. User can click and then enter the month. So something like this. Today is 8th, like this, and this, okay. User can also click on this icon and it will show them a calendar just like this. So this is another input type in HTML. Good. Let's continue by looking at other input types in HTML. I'll take you to my code editor, and this time put less than input type equal to quote. Inside this code put range, okay, and we close our code. Let's go to our web browser, reload, and we have another input type user can use. It's like a slider, okay. User can slide to choose between a range, okay. Let's continue by looking at other input types. Again, we go back to our code editor and then we'll come down and we'll put less than input type equal to, and inside here let's put color. We close our code and then we go to our web browser, reload, and we have another input type. User can click on it and then you can see this is a color picker, okay. Now let me use a break tag to rearrange my code, okay, because I don't like how it is displaying visually. So I'll simply use the BR tag between my code. Just bear with me. And finally, good. Now let's go to our web browser and reload this page, and you can see how they are lined up. Okay, now user can click on this. This is a color picker, and then choose his or her favorite colors. Okay, so this is a color picker. This is another input type in HTML. Let's continue by looking at other input types. So I'll take you to my code editor, and then we'll come down. But first we need to break our code. So BR to break, come down again, and let's put less than input type equal to, inside the code let's put file. Okay, and then we close our code. Let's go to our web browser and see what that input type does. All right, so you can click here in order to upload a file. Okay, click on or upload a file, and then click on submit to upload this file or submit this file. So the file input type in HTML helps us collect files from users. All right, let's continue. Let's go ahead and enter our code for our next input type. So I'll simply come down and put less than input type equal to code. Inside this code, let's put week. Okay, and then we close our code by putting a greater than symbol. Let's go to our web browser, reload this page, and as you can see, we have an input type here, week. Okay, if you cannot see that, let me go ahead and clear my other code so you can see better. Okay, so let me do that really quick by commenting them out. All right, so I'll comment my code out like this, and then we'll go back to our web browser, reload, and as you can see, this is another input type in HTML called week. Okay, user can click on it and choose or select the week or the days in a week. Okay, so this is another input type in HTML. Let's go ahead and talk of another input type in HTML. So I'll take you to my code editor, and then let's come down and write our code for our next input type. So less than, and we'll put input type equal to code. Inside this code, we need to put something like checkbox. Okay, so checkbox. Let's end our code by putting a greater than symbol, and then we'll go back to our web browser, reload this page, and as you can see, this is a box called a checkbox. Okay, user can click on it to select list of items. Okay, so that's it. That's our 11th type of input type in HTML. Let's continue by looking at other input types in HTML. I'll take you to my code editor, but before that, we need to break our code by putting a BR tag. This will break our code. Okay, Let's come down and put another BR tag. Come down again, and then we'll put less than input type equal to, inside the code, let's put radio. Okay? Radio. This will create a radio button for us in HTML, and we'll go to our web browser, reload, and as you can see, we have a little circle here called a radio button. Okay, so these are buttons. And finally, there's yet another input type we have to talk about. So I'll take you to my code editor, come down, and we'll break our code. After that, come down again and put less than input type equal to, and here let's put submit. Okay, so submit is another input type in HTML. Let's go to our web browser, reload, and we have a button here. Users can click to submit a form. So that's another input type in HTML. In my next episode, we're going to learn how to create a drop-down list or a drop-down button in HTML. So stick around because I have that video coming up shortly.